So a stroke is a leading cause of preventable death in the US. And every 40 seconds, someone has a stroke. And there's ways that you can identify a stroke that is really easy. And I love the acronym FAST, F-A-S-T. So you can start with F as face drooping. And then A is arm weakness. And then S is slurred speech. And then T is time to call 911. So if you see someone or you feel like your face is drooping, your arm is weak, and your speech is slurred, then call 911. You may be having a stroke, okay? You know, being that it's a leading cause of preventable death, and it's preventable death in the US, and people are having them every 40 seconds, this is something we might want to consider doing something about in our lives because it is preventable. So most of the time, you know, you have a stroke and then you go to the emergency room or the doctor and they take blood to see if you've had a stroke. But what about identifying your risk for stroke previous to the stroke happening so you can actually do things to prevent it? That would be an ideal scenario for someone who wants to live a happy and vital life. My grandmother had a stroke. It's now been a few years and she's still not recovered. She had to go into a wheelchair. She can't use her left arm or her left leg. She is now in assisted living, and that is not the life she was living 2 years ago. She was living on her own at her own house, watering her own plants and making her own food. So, you know, when these things happen, it's in the blink of an eye, and it can be devastating to a family and to someone's life. So one of the things that was published in the American Heart Association's journal called Stroke was a study that showed there is a 29% increase of risk for people who work long work hours. And then it goes up to 45% increase if you work those long hours for more than 10 years. So a 45% increase in your risk for stroke if you're working long hours for an extended period of time, for 10 years or more. So that's one thing we can do to actually prevent it. We just take more time off. In our society, we don't do that. We sit around in front of a computer, we work from home, so now we're working all the time. Trust me, I know this story. And so we got to make time to get outside, to take breaks, to meditate, to do yoga, to exercise, to eat a clean diet. The other thing you can do is we can check biomarkers to see what your risk is for cardiac disease and stroke. There's no specific stroke biomarker, and a biomarker is simply a test that we do with your blood, typically urine or saliva, and it tells us about the physiological state of your health, what your risk is for certain disease states, or whether or not you have them. So it can look at to confirm if you have a disease state or not. And so two of the markers that are on the lab tests that we do for our patients is homocysteine and C-reactive protein. So depending on where those numbers are in your physiology will determine whether or not you have a higher risk for stroke or heart disease. So you can certainly get those tested at our office. We are having a blood draw day, which reduces the cost of the lab evaluation fees on October 21st. So that's coming right up. If you would like to come in and get your labs tested, let us know. It's a very specialized test that we do that looks way deeper than just cholesterol and triglycerides and your lipid panel. So those are great tests to run, and we do run those tests. And if we look a little deeper, we might get more information and be able to really set you on a journey to greater health as you age. So pre-register for that. I will certainly put a link in the notes here so you can access that information pretty easily and get a little bit more information off a website post that I posted. So if you have any questions, reach out. We're happy to help you. We want to prevent strokes for sure, and obviously pay attention to the FAST way of identifying a stroke.